we are going to get into a case study and talk about an actual project that Patty has been involved with related to using focus groups as a data collection method. So thanks again, Patty, for being with us today and sharing with us. And can you just tell us the story of a focus group project where you felt like the effort was really worthwhile?
Absolutely. So I am super proud of my work and the work of all of my colleagues in a statewide needs assessment that we recently completed. And this needs assessment included different types of data collection, including stakeholder interviews, one-on-one interviews, and it also included focus groups. And I will tell you, Jenna, the needs assessment would not be even near complete without the addition of the focus groups for that needs assessment. We were able to get so much rich information that helped inform the overall needs assessment.
What was it about that project? Was it can you just tell us more about the project itself and why you were proud of it and how focus groups were a good fit?
Absolutely. So one of the things in extension programming, and especially in my area of expertise, parenting, education, child development, what one of our researchers discovered, as well as many extension educators around the state, was that fathers were an underserved audience in the world of parenting education. Although fathers are welcomed in all of our parenting education programs, what we realized is that they weren't attending. In fact, we did some internal investigation, internal data search, and found that fathers just weren't participating in parenting education at the rate of other caregivers. And so we wanted to investigate why that was and what it was, how we were conducting our parenting education programming, and why it was that we weren't attracting a whole segment of caregivers, right? And so we went about a statewide fatherhood needs assessment. And part of that process was bringing in focus groups of fathers to ask them what it was that how did they view fatherhood? What was it that they needed in terms of parenting education? What were the barriers that they were experiencing in attending extension or other parenting programming in Wisconsin? And we were able to get really good information through those focus groups and other means of data collection.
There's one part of that project that I'd love to share with our viewers. Just for our viewers, Patty and I worked on this project together, along with other amazing educators and specialists. And there was a really pivotal point in the project where, and Patty was a key person that helped us define this, where I asked, how would we organize fathers into groups? Because it can be overwhelming to decide, like, how do you set up these different groups? Like we talked about in the prior video of, do you put people that are similar together, different together, et cetera? And I asked something like, what is the most important factor that defines parents or fathers? Like what is the most important factor, important demographic difference? That if I'm in this group, my experience is totally different than if I'm in this group. And Patty, you and others said it's custody status.
Yep.
It's if they're,
Yes.
co-parenting with another parent, which is not technically a custody status, but I'll explain. If they're sharing parenting after a divorce or separation versus if they've got like full custody, living with the other parent, still together with the other parent versus if they don't have custody of their children for some reason. And we ended up adding a few other groups in, but that was such a key moment in our assessment, was knowing how to set up these groups and thinking big about that. Because if we had just gone to, okay, well, we haven't reached many fathers in the past, but we have reached a few fathers, so let's just ask them to do a focus group with us. It's like, that's a whole different sample than us stepping back and saying, how would we define these groups, and then recruiting fathers into those different groups.
100%. And earlier, you'll remember that I talked a lot about safety and I talked about trust. And when you're thinking about a focus group and you're asking a specific question, remember when I talked about if you're struggling financially and you see somebody come in and they seem to be more affluent, it's difficult. Or maybe even educational status might be it. But we really were deliberate in thinking about what would be barriers to actually being able to talk and to express your point of views, and how different are people who we were trying to attract for our focus groups, experiences that would be a barrier in them being able to open up. And we did settle on custody as a major issue. And so if you are planning a focus group, these are the types of things. It could be other barriers. It could be cultural. It could be, it could be any number of things. But for us, we really focused on the custody issue and non-custodial fathers. And then, like Jenna said, there were other groups, fathers who were involved in the justice system. They needed to be heard, and in a way that validated their feelings. And somebody who is a traditional parent in a full custody situation might not be able to relate to the questions may be totally different. Interestingly, and why this is so exciting and why focus groups are so important is certain themes emerged among all of the groups. Yeah. And it was pretty impactful to actually see that. Now, there were differences, but there were certain themes that emerged. And I mean, I almost get goosebumps thinking about it, because there were commonalities that did come from all of those different groups.
Yeah. I'll just add real quick, one other thing I thought made this project really not even so much worthwhile, but usable and impactful, is how collaborative we did the data analysis. It also made it take a lot longer. So there's that caveat, if you're doing a project where you need to turn the analysis around quicker, this is not going to be the way to go. But we involved anyone who wanted to come to the table, educators and specialists that had been involved in any way, or even that were just a part of the broader program within our program area and extension, to come to what we call data jams. And, this was during COVID-19 times, so everything was virtual. But even if not, with us being all around the state, this would have been a great method to use, where we shared the screen, we read the quotes from fathers together, and we made sense of them together, and we created our coding scheme, and then eventually our themes together. And the findings are different than if it would have been me analyzing the data as an evaluation specialist. So I just really encourage folks to at least pull in one other person, or even if you're analyzing the data by yourself, at least send your draft findings to someone else to look at and kind of like critique or ask you like questions, or just wonder like, oh, what about this? And because even though we like to think about evaluation as objective, it's not, it only becomes more objective as you do things to make it more objective. I.e., one of them is bringing multiple perspectives to the table during analysis as well.
Yes, so that your own biases don't trickle in, so that even just asking simple questions within those data jams can prompt the people in the data jam, and it doesn't have to be a major thing. There were times, Jenna, where we had our data jams where there would maybe be 3 people or 4 people. So it doesn't have to be an overwhelming task. But like you said, even one other perspective would be helpful in the analyzing of especially focus groups.
Well, thank you so much, Patty. Is there anything else you want to share about this specific case study focus group example?
Well, other than my passion for the needs assessment, and then also just realizing that in extension work, collecting data, evaluating, and looking at what we do is only as good as if we use that information for program improvement and or for program development. And that's the next phase. So evaluation is one thing, but then utilizing that data to create change, behavior change, to bring about the best type of programming that we possibly can is the most important thing. And that's what I'll say about it. And that's the next phase we're on, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah. That's really inspiring, Patty. Thank you so much for being a champion for families and for evaluation and for communities. And it's really an honor to have you here with us sharing the tips and the wisdom that you've gained. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being with us.
You're welcome, Jenna.
Okay. Talk to you later. Bye, everyone.